Venturing beyond the basement. As the two strangers woke up in the dimly lit basement, their eyes slowly adjusted to the unfamiliar surroundings. The cold, damp air sent shivers down their spines, and the sight of the lifeless body in the center of the room only added to their confusion and fear. They glanced at each other, their eyes filled with a mix of curiosity and apprehension. The first instinct of the strangers was to examine their own bodies, searching for any clues or memories that could shed light on their predicament. They felt the weight of the chains around their ankles, a stark reminder of their captivity. The chains were securely fastened to the walls, leaving them with limited mobility. Their minds raced with questions. Who were they? How did they end up in this basement? And most importantly, who was the man lying lifeless before them? The weapon in his hand suggested a violent end, but the circumstances surrounding his death remained a mystery. Despite their fear and confusion, the strangers knew they had to gather their wits and find a way out of the basement. They mustered their courage and decided to venture beyond the confines of their immediate surroundings. Slowly, they began to explore the basement, their eyes scanning every corner for any signs of an exit or additional clues. The basement was filled with an eerie silence, broken only by the sound of their footsteps echoing against the cold, stone walls. They noticed a small window near the ceiling, covered with grime and barely letting in any light. It seemed impossible to escape through it, but they made a mental note to return to it later. As they continued their exploration, their eyes fell upon a bookshelf tucked away in a corner. Intrigued, they approached it and began examining the books. To their surprise, one of the books seemed out of place. They carefully pulled it out, revealing a hidden compartment behind it. Inside the compartment, they found a set of keys. Hope surged within them as they realized these keys might hold the answer to their escape. They hurriedly tried each key on their chains, hoping to find the one that would set them free. After several attempts, one of the keys finally clicked, releasing the stranger from their chains. With one stranger now free, they turned their attention to the other's chains. It took a few more tries, but eventually they found the right key and unlocked the second stranger's restraints. They stood there, momentarily relieved to be free from the chains that had bound them. But their freedom was only partial. They were still trapped in the basement, and the mystery surrounding their presence and the dead man remained unsolved. Determined to find answers, they decided to leave the basement and venture further into the unknown. As they climbed the stairs leading away from the basement, a sense of trepidation washed over them. They had no idea what awaited them beyond those doors. The strangers exchanged a nervous glance before pushing open the heavy door and stepping into the unknown. The sight that greeted them was both bewildering and unsettling. They found themselves in a dimly lit hallway, lined with closed doors on either side. The air was heavy with a musty scent, and the silence was broken only by the distant sound of dripping water. Each door held the promise of answers, but also the potential for danger. They knew they had to proceed with caution, choosing their path wisely. With a shared determination, they began to open the doors one by one, hoping to uncover the truth that lay hidden within the walls of this mysterious place. As they explored the unknown corridors, they stumbled upon a room filled with old photographs and documents. The images depicted a life they couldn't remember, faces they couldn't recognize. The documents revealed a web of connections, linking them to the deceased man in the basement. With each piece of information they uncovered, the puzzle began to take shape. They realized that their presence in the basement was not a mere coincidence, but part of a larger scheme. Determined to unravel the truth, they pressed on, their resolve strengthened by the glimmer of hope that they were getting closer to the answers they sought. The journey beyond the basement was fraught with uncertainty and danger, but the two strangers were determined to face whatever challenges lay ahead. With each step they took, they moved closer to the truth, inching towards a resolution that would bring them closure and redemption. Encountering dangers. As the two strangers woke up in the dimly lit basement, their hearts raced with fear and confusion. The sight of the lifeless body in the center of the room sent shivers down their spines. The stench of death hung heavy in the air. intensifying their unease. They glanced at each other, their eyes filled with a mix of apprehension and curiosity. How did they end up in this macabre situation? And more importantly, what dangers awaited them in this sinister place? The room itself seemed to exude an eerie aura, with its cold, damp walls and the faint sound of dripping water echoing in the background. The flickering light bulb above provided only a meager illumination, casting long, haunting shadows across the room. It was clear that they were not alone, and the unknown presence lurking in the darkness sent a chill down their spines. As they strained against their chains, the metallic clinks serving as a constant reminder of their captivity, they realized that their first encounter with danger was the very fact that they were chained to the walls. The heavy iron chains dug into their ankles, restricting their movements and leaving them vulnerable. Panic threatened to consume them, but they knew they had to stay calm and find a way to survive. Their eyes darted around the room, searching for any clues or objects that could aid them in their escape. But as they scanned the surroundings, they couldn't help but notice the ominous symbols etched into the walls. Strange markings and cryptic messages seemed to tell a story of darkness and despair. It was clear that they were not dealing with an ordinary situation. As they continued to explore their surroundings, they stumbled upon a series of hidden traps and obstacles strategically placed throughout the basement. The floor was littered with tripwires, and the walls were adorned with deadly spikes. It became apparent that their captor had meticulously designed this place to be a labyrinth of danger, testing their wits and resilience at every turn. With each step they took, they encountered new perils. The basement seemed to be alive with malevolence, as if it had a mind of its own. The floor beneath them gave way to reveal a deep pit, threatening to swallow them whole. The ceiling above them groaned and creaked, as if it could collapse at any moment. Every corner they turned held the potential for a deadly surprise. As they navigated through the treacherous environment, their senses heightened and their instincts sharpened. They learned to trust their gut feelings and rely on each other for support. The dangers they faced only served to strengthen their bond, as they realized that their survival depended on their ability to work together. But danger came not only from the physical obstacles they encountered. The psychological toll of their situation weighed heavily on their minds. The constant fear and uncertainty gnawed at their sanity, threatening to break them down. They had to constantly remind themselves to stay strong, to not let the darkness consume them. In their journey through the basement, they encountered more than just physical dangers. They faced their own inner demons, their deepest fears and insecurities. The basement became a metaphorical reflection of their own struggles, forcing them to confront their past and come to terms with their own vulnerabilities. As they pressed on, they discovered that the dangers they encountered were not random acts of cruelty, but rather a twisted game orchestrated by a sadistic mind. The basement was a stage, and they were the unwilling actors in a macabre performance. The realization only fueled their determination to escape and bring their captor to justice. With each passing moment, the dangers they faced grew more intense. The basement seemed to tighten its grip on them, as if it reveled in their suffering. But they refused to succumb to despair. They would face every danger head-on, armed with their resilience and the unwavering hope of freedom. Little did they know that the true danger lay not only in the basement, but also in the secrets they were about to uncover. The mysteries surrounding their presence in that grim place were just the tip of the iceberg. The journey ahead would test their courage, their loyalty, and their will to survive. And as they ventured deeper into the unknown, they would soon realize that the dangers they encountered were far more sinister than they could have ever imagined. Navigating through challenges. As the two strangers found themselves chained to the walls in the mysterious basement, they knew they had to navigate through a series of challenges in order to find their way out. With their survival instincts kicking in, they began to assess their situation and devise a plan to overcome the obstacles that lay ahead. The first challenge they faced was understanding the layout of the basement. It was dimly lit, with only a small window high up on one wall, allowing a sliver of light to filter through. The walls were made of cold, damp concrete, and the air was heavy with a musty smell. The strangers took a moment to observe their surroundings, searching for any clues or tools that could aid in their escape. The chains that bound them to the walls were sturdy and tightly secured. The strangers realized that breaking free from them would require a great deal of strength and determination. They examined the chains, hoping to find weak points or any means of loosening them. However, their efforts proved futile as the chains seemed impenetrable. With limited resources at their disposal, the strangers had to think creatively and make the most of what they had. They searched their pockets and found a few small objects: a paperclip, a pen, and a piece of string. Although seemingly insignificant, they knew that even the smallest item could potentially be useful in their escape. As they continued to explore the basement, the strangers stumbled upon a series of puzzles and riddles scattered throughout the room. These challenges seemed to be deliberately placed, as if someone wanted to test their intelligence and problem-solving skills. Determined to overcome these obstacles, they worked together, combining their knowledge and unique perspectives to decipher the cryptic messages and solve the intricate puzzles. Navigating through the challenges was not only a physical test, but also a mental and emotional one. Fear and uncertainty loomed over them, threatening to hinder their progress. They had to find the strength within themselves to push past their fears and focus on the task at hand. Encouraging each other and reminding themselves of their shared goal, they forged ahead, determined to find a way out. In order to successfully navigate through the challenges, the strangers had to build trust and establish a strong sense of cooperation. They shared their thoughts, ideas, and fears, creating a bond that would help them overcome the obstacles they faced. By working together and relying on each other's strengths, they were able to tackle the challenges more effectively. As they progressed through the basement, the strangers encountered situations where they had to make difficult choices. They were presented with multiple paths, each with its own risks and rewards. They had to carefully weigh their options, considering the potential consequences of their decisions. Every choice they made had the potential to either bring them closer to freedom or lead them further into danger. The challenges they faced seemed never-ending, testing their resilience and determination. There were moments when they felt overwhelmed and tempted to give up. However, they reminded themselves of their will to survive and the hope of escaping their confinement. They drew strength from each other and pushed forward, refusing to let the challenges break their spirit. Throughout their journey, the strangers encountered setbacks and made mistakes. However, they viewed these setbacks as opportunities for growth and learning. They analyzed their errors, adjusted their strategies, and used their newfound knowledge to approach the challenges with a fresh perspective. Each mistake became a stepping stone towards their ultimate goal of freedom. Amidst the challenges and hardships, the strangers learned to celebrate even the smallest victories. Whether it was solving a puzzle, finding a hidden clue, or successfully navigating through a particularly difficult obstacle, they acknowledged and appreciated their progress. These small victories served as motivation, reminding them that they were capable of overcoming the challenges that lay ahead. As the strangers continued to navigate through the challenges, they grew closer and more determined than ever. With each passing obstacle, they inched closer to unraveling the mystery of their presence in the basement and finding a way to escape. Their journey was far from over, but they were filled with hope and resilience, ready to face whatever lay ahead, confronting the unexpected. As the two strangers stood there, chained to the walls in the dimly lit basement, they couldn't help but feel a sense of unease. The discovery of the lifeless body in the center of the room had already sent shockwaves through their minds. But now, they were faced with the daunting task of confronting the unexpected. Their first instinct was to panic, to scream for help, but they quickly realized that they were alone in this eerie place. The only sounds that filled the air were their own heavy breaths and the distant hum of an unknown machinery. It was clear that they had to rely on each other if they were to have any chance of escaping this nightmare. With a newfound determination, they began to assess their surroundings. The basement was filled with an assortment of old furniture, dusty boxes, and cobwebs that hung from the ceiling. It seemed as though this place had been abandoned for years, forgotten by time itself. But what had brought them here? And why were they chained to the walls? As they examined their restraints, they noticed that the chains were securely fastened to the walls, leaving them with very little room to move. It was a grim reminder of their dire situation. The weight of the unknown pressed down on them, but they refused to let fear consume them. They knew that they had to find a way out, no matter the cost. Together, they began to search for any clues that might shed light on their predicament. They combed through the boxes, hoping to find something that would provide answers. Among the dusty relics, they discovered a journal, its pages yellowed with age. It belonged to the deceased man in the center of the room. As they flipped through the journal, they stumbled upon cryptic entries that hinted at a dark past. The man had been involved in shady dealings, and it seemed that his actions had caught up with him. The more they read, the more they realized that they were not mere victims of circumstance. They were chosen for a reason. The realization hit them like a punch to the gut. They were not random strangers thrown together in this twisted game. They were connected, their lives intertwined in ways they couldn't yet comprehend. The basement was not just a prison. It was a stage for their past sins to be confronted. With this newfound knowledge, they began to piece together the puzzle of their shared history. Memories flooded back, revealing a web of deceit, betrayal, and regret. They had hurt each other in ways they couldn't remember. But now they had a chance to confront their demons and seek redemption. As they delved deeper into their memories, they discovered that the deceased man was not the only one responsible for their current predicament. There were others involved, lurking in the shadows, waiting for their moment to strike. The basement was just the beginning. There was a much larger game at play. Armed with this understanding, they knew that they had to confront the unexpected head-on. They couldn't afford to be passive victims any longer. They had to find a way to break free from their chains, to escape the clutches of their tormentors, and to confront the truth that awaited them outside the basement walls. But as they prepared themselves for the unknown, they couldn't help but feel a sense of trepidation. The dangers that awaited them beyond the basement were unknown, and the challenges they would face would test their resolve to the core. Yet they knew that they had come too far to turn back now. With a shared determination, they took a deep breath and prepared to face the unexpected. They were ready to confront their past, to uncover the truth, and to fight for their freedom. Little did they know that the journey ahead would push them to their limits and force them to confront the darkest parts of themselves. But they were prepared to face whatever lay ahead, for they knew that only by confronting the unexpected could they find the answers they so desperately sought.